Well, greetings everyone. Here we are with the gold wheel again. I promise this will be the last video. This thing's been kicking my butt lately. But I'm here to share a few things, tips, whatever you want to call it, that I've learned that may help you in the future. I have poured over tons of YouTube videos, and it just seems like every time I click on a video to try to learn something about this thing, what I want to learn isn't covered. So I'm hoping that in this video I cover those few things that aren't covered in other videos, or at least none that I could find. So let's get going. Tip number one, and I know this is going to come to a shock to a lot of us fellas anyway: read the directions. In this handy dandy little direction booklet that they give you are some really good tips on how to set this up and get it running. I know a lot of things don't have good directions, but this one does. You just have to sift through the 2 or 3 pages worth of advertisements that they stuck in there and sift out the tips and tricks to running this thing. But once you do that, you're going to be a lot better off. Tip number 2, take your time setting this thing up. Couple of the key points is setting the angle. Here's my makeshift angle finder thingy that I made up, and it's not perfect, but I got it set at roughly a 40-degree angle. It's close enough. Also, this little guy right here, we got to make sure, let me turn the water on. We got to make sure that the stream of that is hitting between 4 and 5 o'clock, and make sure it's more towards the outside of the wheel than the inside. You don't want it spraying on this part of the spiral. I'm not sure what they call that, but I'm sure it's in the directions. You can see how well I read them. One thing you don't want to do is adjust your water flow too high at first. I think it's better to get a little black sand that goes down the hole than it is to have it too high and blow out gold. The good thing is it's got a catch pan right here, so if you blow out your gold, you'll be able to catch it. Another tip, it says you can do 4 ounces every, oh, look at that. I don't know if you caught that, but I got a couple bigger chunks of gold. We'll go over that in a second too. Where was I? They say you can do like 4 ounces every 20 to 30 seconds. I prefer to feed it a little bit slower than that. It looks like to me that some of the bigger pieces are making their way up through and into the container. And bonus tip, make sure you put the container in there. Yep, I did. Okay, that's good. So it looks like my water flow is okay. I don't mind seeing some of the bigger pieces, and that leads me to the next tip on this thing. Classify. My material is classified at -20 mesh. You'll see later when I run the tailings from the catch pan that it did lose some gold, but it lost some really fine gold, really small stuff. So I think if you were to classify and run a lot tighter classification of material, in other words, if I had, which I can't find, 40 mesh or 50 mesh or 30 mesh or whatever, if I could classify, step it down, and run each one of those plus 30, -20, plus 40, -30, and keep it in that range, I think it wouldn't lose any gold. But because I've got such a large range of material from 20 mesh on down through, I'm spilling out the finest gold out of the front. I should be feeding this while I'm talking. Next tip is I much prefer to adjust my water flow than my angle. Once I got my angle dialed in, which is right around 40 degrees like I showed you, then I can adjust my water flow. Different material will take different water flow. This is only like a 10 to 20% black sand mix with light material. I ran everything through the Mining Magnets dry magnetic separator with the auto feed feature, and then I basically blended in. I took 8 ounces of material and I blended in about 2 ounces of black sand. There might be maybe 3, so I might be a little bit heavier. One of the problems I was having with this is I was running a much heavier mixture of black sand, like 90% black sand, because that's what I bring home for concentrates. It's mostly black sand, and this thing, it says right in the book, if you're having trouble losing gold out the front, then add in some lighter material and knock that black sand concentration level down some. In this case, I just took the black sand out. Is this an ideal thing for a cleanup for me? No, but it's been fun trying to learn how to run it and not lose your gold. So while this thing's running out this material, I thought I'd just do a quick recap. I don't want this video to go on forever because I'm sure you're all sick of seeing this gold wheel. So anyway, number 1, read the directions. Take time to set it up. Set the angle properly. 40 degrees is where I start. Set the aquajet tube, which is this tube right here, between 4 and 5 o'clock. It bends easy, it can be set easy. Don't start out with too much flow on the spray bar. You don't want to blow out your gold right off the bat. Classify, classify, and classify. Try to run the same size material as possible. Even if you're running short runs of different classified material, try to run it within a very short size range, narrow size range. Don't have too much black sand. If you do, I think you need to lean the wheel back farther. But even in the directions, it says not to have too much black sand. If you're blowing gold out the front of the wheel, you may have too much black sand, which is why, again, I'm not going to use this as a cleanup rig. I'm not even sure it was designed for that, so I prefer a little slower feed rate. That's my personal preference. And don't toss your cons before you go through them. And a little shout out to Prospector's Dream Gold Buddy Sluice. I've been running all the concentrates through that at the end to check the pan, and I will show you right here what made it by the wheel and into the cons. Yeah, so that's it. That's all that it lost. And notice how they seem to be pretty much all the same size. There's a couple of really tiny flecks in there, little fly poopies, but for the most part they're all the same size. And I think if I had my material classified down to a similar size, I would have probably not lost those, but that's what it lost. So there you go. Well, I hope I covered everything for you, and if you guys are struggling on running this thing, I hope I touched on something that will help you figure this thing out. I know it's taken me hours and hours of experimenting to sort of dial it in, so I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate y'all. It's fantastic to see my channel's actually growing pretty good right now, and that's all you folks, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and the comments have been amazing. Thank you so much. Y'all take care. Have a good one. See you. Bye.